How do you feel about doing your first interview, Mom?
Good. I'm well.
Yeah.
I'm not having side effects.
What kind of cancer do you have?
Colorectal cancer.
Stage?
4, metastasizing to the liver.
When did you find out that you had cancer?
The beginning of this year.
Like when?
It was actually diagnosed in April, but I had symptoms since January that I recognized.
What kind of symptoms?
I was losing weight from 2 years before. I had a very low iron count due to the tumors that would do something to the hemoglobin, so it wouldn't do what it has to do with the iron. I've got to think about this. I had loss of appetite. I lost a lot of weight unintentionally, and all those are typical symptoms of colon cancer.
What was the final straw that made you go to the doctor to get more information?
The unintentional weight loss
How long were you losing weight for?
since 2019,
How much weight have you lost?
roughly 40 pounds.
What were the procedures for testing and diagnosis?
First, they had to do a CT scan where they saw the tumors in the colon and they saw the markings in the liver. And then they did a colonoscopy where they did a biopsy on the tumor in the colon, and it came out as positive. And then they did a PET scan, and that showed them 2 tumors in the colon plus the markations in the liver that detect cancer, that help them to detect cancer.
So, CT scan, PET scan, and then what?
It was CT scan, then colonoscopy, then PET scan.
Colonoscopy. So what's the procedure for the CT scan?
It's just going under an X-ray machine,
Okay.
and you drink a certain liquid first to, I guess it shows them where the cancer is. I don't know exactly what it shows, but you have to drink a certain liquid, and then you go under the X-ray machine.
Okay. What about the procedure for the colonoscopy?
That's where you drink this liquid a day before, and you only drink clear liquids, and the day of you drink some more of that liquid, and it totally cleans the colon out. And then you go in a few hours later, and they use this instrument to go up the rectum, and it shows them polyps or tumors, and it gives them the ability to clip the polyps to check it, or to do a biopsy on the tumor to check it to see if it's malignant or benign. In my case, it was malignant.
Okay. What was the preparation like for you for the colonoscopy? How would you describe it?
Awful. I've never tasted anything that bad in my life.
What did it taste like?
I can't even describe it. I just know it was an awful experience. I had to pay a lot of money for it at the pharmacy, and I mixed this solution that I had to drink a certain amount of within a certain amount of time, and it was very difficult swallowing that. I don't think anything in life will taste bad ever again to me, because it was an awful experience. And that was the worst part of the colonoscopy. Actually using the instrument to check for the tumor was easy compared to the preparation.
What was it like after? How did you feel?
Nauseous, sick, sleepy. Sick.
I remember I wanted to take you out to eat, and my friend was like, "Are you crazy? Clearly, you've never had a colonoscopy before." How did you react to the news of finding out that you had a tumor with malignancy? Hopefully, I said that correctly.
I was calm. I thought it was something like that, but I wasn't sure. The first time I heard, I was very calm because it's not the first trauma that I've had in my life, so it didn't affect me the way the medical staff expected it to. So they were afraid of saying the C word the whole time, and it's not my worst challenge in life, so it didn't really faze me. And then, because of my strong belief in the superior being, I didn't think, it was something to be scared of, because I've been through challenges before.
Okay. So after you received the news, the not so good news, you spoke to, the specialists, the doctors, multitude of different doctors. What were your options and what did you decide to do?
Well, first of all, I needed to find out more about it. I need to find out why certain things were happening. So I went into research. I researched quite a bit. I learned quite a bit. And I chose a second opinion. The first oncologist gave me information. He showed me a chart of the colon, and he told me it was too late for surgery because the tumor was so big it almost covered all of my colon, and it was a stage 4, which I didn't understand at the time. And so that's what got me into research. And then I asked for a second opinion. I went to another oncologist, and in between two oncologists, I did so much research that I had a better understanding of stage 4, which means that it has gone through the lining of the colon, it's gone to the lymphatic system, and it's headed for the other organs. And it actually reached my liver, and my liver has a lot of lesions. So then I knew what to ask the second oncologist. And then she gave me a choice of whether to do surgery first or chemo. And what the chemo does is it shrinks the tumor, and then that allows them to be able to work with it surgically. So they're doing the chemo I chose to do the chemo first, and then they'll see if they can look at what can be done with surgery. Regarding the liver, they're going to send me to a surgeon for the liver, but we're not too sure what's going to happen yet. So we're just going one day at a time now.
So you're continuing treatment, but step 1 is the chemotherapy.
Yes, that's what I chose.
What is the procedure? How do you prepare for chemotherapy?
There isn't really any preparation. Not like the colonoscopy. You just like what I did was I had coffee in the morning and my supplements and my vitamins, and then I went.
Okay, but you had to get a port placed.
Oh, before, yeah. They put a port in which they use to access the blood vessels, so they don't have to use intravenous needles. So when they need to put anything in, they put it in the port.
Okay.
And when they need to take blood out, they use the port. And the port is something that had to be installed under the skin. They had to do a little mini surgery where they cut the skin and put this little instrument under the skin.
While you were awake?
Well, it was local anesthetic, yes. And then they, told me not to get it wet. And at first they were going to use it one day after, but because of my insurance company and some problems going on, it actually got a chance to heal for 1 week. So it's in place, and then they use it to put in the chemo, to draw in the blood, Every time I go, they have to draw blood to check. Today, when they drew blood, they noticed, they asked me if I had problems breathing, and I said yes. And so they had to go to the doctor and ask him if they could still give me the chemo, or they need to give me some iron, because the low iron count is what was causing the breathing distress. So she had to go to the doctor, and he came back and he said, she came back and he said, go ahead and do the chemo. So we went ahead and did it. But I do have a little problem breathing from time to time, and the blood test told them that there was a problem. So every time I go, they do blood tests, and then now I go for the chemo, and then 2 days later I come home with this port attached to,
It's a fanny pack, but it's tucked behind your book.
yeah, attached to a pouch of medicine in a fanny pack, and that just keeps going for 2 days. I can't disconnect it, and the medicine just keeps going in through the pump. Then I go back on Wednesday and they take it off, and then after that I go back in 2 weeks and we do the chemo again. And I don't know what the time period is going to be, but they will do a scan to see how the tumors look after the first round of chemo, and then they determine what to do after. But I think they're looking into surgery right now. They're going to send me to a surgeon to see what they can do with the colon.
Okay.
No, what they can do with the liver.
Right. What do you want people to know about cancer?
That cancer is a disease that can be controlled. We need to be screened according to genetics. Although in my case, I just knew that I was constantly losing weight. But I'd like people to know with colon cancer that there are certain things you need to look out for, like the unintentional weight loss. A lot of people think, when they think cancer, they think death, and that's not necessarily the case. It depends on which stage they diagnose it at, and if it's a stage 1, it can be taken care of surgically and you keep watching it. If it's a stage 2, it's basically the same thing. The quicker you take care of the surgery, the better. But if it's a stage 3 or stage 4, you might have to go into chemotherapy. There are lots of survivors. Nobody knows about survivors, but a lot of people know about death from cancer. So I'd like people to know that you don't necessarily have to die. You have to know about cancer, you have to get screening, you have to know about your family history, and catch it as soon as possible. You're not necessarily going to live, but you're not necessarily going to die either. I think you have a better chance of living than dying if you do what you're supposed to do.